Good morning, Malta and Gozo, and welcome to another episode of Lovin Daily, where we'll be recapping the top news from the island from the last 24 hours. I am your host, David Gakurpani, and with me is my co-host, Julian Bonici. Here are your headlines for today. Jurgen Fennick believed close relationship with Rozjan Kutayar led to emotional defense in 17 Black debate. Tarxien local council's Facebook goes rogue after a hack. TVM journalists speak out about lack of balance at PBS. XFactor judges revealed ahead of new season, and kill shelters may become a reality if animal sanctuaries continue to be overwhelmed. Julian.
Yeah, on to our first story. So more revelations from the mobile phone of Jurgen Fennick. Yesterday, Lovin Malta revealed how the Daphne Caruana Galizia murder suspect believed his personal relationship with MP Rozjan Kutayar played a role in her overly emotional defense during a 17 Black parliamentary debate. Now, Lovin Malta spoke to some sources who detailed a text between Jurgen Fennick and a well-known businessman where they sort of discussed this issue. Jurgen Fennick was so worried about Rozjan Kutayar's defense in Parliament that he worried that it would even raise suspicions about a close relationship between the pair. Fennick even tried to persuade Kutayar not to even take part in the debate, and during the debate even messaged his good friend, Justice Minister Edward Zammit Lewis, to intervene and calm her down. Jurgen Fennick's concerns seem to be justified. In the messages, he allegedly even talks about how a family member reached out to him, raising concerns, that Kutayar must have, some sort of, personal feelings towards Fennick given her defense. Now, this debate happened on 12th November 2018. That was soon after Jurgen Fennick was finally outed as the owner of 17 Black. That's a Dubai-based company linked to alleged government corruption. Now, during the debate, which was urgently called by the PN, Rozjan Kutayar was one of several government MPs who sort of dismissed opposition concerns, railing off, budget proposals and sort of saying, that all these concerns were sort of, not needed, even though, truth be told, they were eventually proven wrong. During the debate, Rozjan Kutayar even went so far as to call for opposition MP and former PN leader Simon Busuttil an embittered loser about it all. So, gets a little bit of a taste of what was going on at around that time. Now, this is not Rozjan Kutayar's first brush with Jurgen Fennick. I think most people out there are aware of the issue involving an Mdina property deal and her allegedly taking a brokerage fee from it and not declaring tax on it, very crucially. Rozjan Kutayar, so the only time she sort of defended Jurgen Fennick, well, at least indirectly or directly, his interests on a parliament stage. She was one of Malta's representatives in the Council of Europe, fighting tooth and nail to ensure a public inquiry into the assassination of Daphne Caruana Galizia was never done. And we've actually seen in recent weeks how beneficial, that inquiry was into actually maybe, going on some progress from the case. Now, obviously, for those who don't know out there, Rozjan Kutayar, even though she's been booted out of Malta's cabinet, remains very much a Labour MP and remains determined to run in the next election. She's also conveniently from the same district Roberta Bella hails from. I wonder what anything has done with that decision.
This is very slowly becoming, very steadily becoming one of the island's, biggest, worst kept secrets. We've all heard all of these uncomfortable and frankly disturbing allegations and accusations of politicians and people who are from the criminal underground. Uncomfortable relationship with Jurgen Fennick. Just yesterday, Melvin Thomas submitted documents to the court revealing that he also gave the Dojo brothers €200,000 to cover legal costs and other expenses. So back to Rozjan, whatever the relationship is with Jurgen, I frankly, wish I had a powerful friend who could really defend me that passionately, no matter what the accusations are. And yesterday was my birthday. I love my friends. I love them all. But I wish at least one of them, would surprise me with a couple of €1,000 every single time my birthday rolls.
Good friends.
Moving on to our next story, the Tarxien Local Council's Facebook page has been posting a couple of very weird posts. And it's now been revealed that it's been hacked by an individual or a number of individuals. It all started last week on Wednesday, where a frankly very weird Facebook post that literally reads ADASDASDAS123123 was posted. People were confused. People thought that maybe someone might have been, checking the Facebook page to see that it still works. A couple of other testing posts came up, but yesterday it all came to a head and it went a little bit viral when the Tarxien local council Facebook page just shared a photo of a woman in a red dress leaning over in a car with a smiling emoji as a caption. Of course, it was perfect fodder for a meme or two. It was quite entertaining, but the councillor Christian Patch soon came in and said, this page has been hacked and we're trying to recover it. And even though it made for an entertaining headline, of course, we have still to see whether this is part of a more insidious attack. I mean, this is a local council's Facebook page after all, and we are, only a couple of months after the opposition party was hacked as well.
Yeah, I think it serves a very good lesson, maybe for social media use in the country. Listen, it's actually quite funny, the posts were quite funny, but, at the end of the day, this is a government department. Most government departments have Facebook pages, and this sort of use, I really hoped, the people using them, the administrators would actually know, the best rules of practice for security and whatnot, because this time it was comical, next time it might be a lot more serious, where people's lives might be affected. We're all seeing, countless messages. I don't know how many I receive a day from scammers, whether it's about a COVID passport, money laundering things. I get so many messages nowadays, so we need to be careful about the scams taking place on the island. On to our next story, kind of media related. TVM journalists have actually finally started speaking out about a lack of impartiality at the state broadcaster. Yesterday, speaking to Times of Malta, several anonymous TVM journalists detailed, how there was actually little journalism being done at the state broadcaster, and how oftentimes they're discouraged or frankly, rejected from writing damaging stories against the government. One of them sort of even said, how the TVM news bulletin is effectively becoming a government notice board. So, really worrying signs for the state broadcaster and the TVM journalists working in there. Now, obviously, issues of impartiality at TVM and PBS are nothing new, right? Every time a government is in power, the state broadcaster is levied with the same accusations. Yet, for some reason, no changes have really been done, and this impartiality and so-called independence has never been achieved. So much so that the public inquiry into the Daphne Caruana Galizia assassination that we mentioned earlier actually flagged the issues of impartiality at TVM, saying, that they didn't report on government corruption, almost leading to that state of impunity that allowed Daphne's murder. Now, the newsroom is currently led by Norma Saliba, who's been there from 2020, and unfortunately, these issues, these claims against TVM are really nothing new, Mark Lawrence Zamit only just recently, hopped over from We Media to the Times of Malta and sort of said, at least claimed, his reason for leaving was interference from the state broadcaster. I don't know about you, Deej, but something really needs to be done, something really needs to be changed. This is something we all pay for out of our taxpayer money, whether you watch it or not. And I think for the sake of democracy, we all need a proper state broadcast that is delivering the news, no matter what it is, to all the citizens out there.
We're back here, basically. We've been talking about this, for years. This is just, another headline that's been a long time coming. I think a couple of people were just not surprised. They were just relieved that now there are people from the inside who are saying it, but let's not forget the framework that is enabling this, the framework that we as Lovin Malta are, fighting against, the impartiality, the need for more impartiality when it comes to not just the party stations but also the national broadcaster. This was formed in 1991. So we are 3 decades later still talking about this, and maybe 30 years later, in a different century, it is finally time, for the national broadcaster to allow some proper journalism. On to our next story, a program that you will be watching on TVM later this year. XFactor Malta is back for its 3rd season, and it has revealed its new panel of judges. Well, I say new, 2 of them are returning. You have, outspoken and beloved producer Howard Keith de Bono, pop queen Ira Roscoe, and 2 new judges who many of our viewers, well, everyone in Malta will be quite familiar with, Philippa Naudi of the New Victorians and Ivan Grek from Winter Moods. So this is the 3rd season of XFactor Malta after that 1-year hiatus last year when we got Malta's Got Talent. The last winner of XFactor was none other than Destiny, so big pop shoes to fill in. You're like an amazing singer when it comes to both Malta and internationally, but this time the winner will not represent Malta in the Eurovision 2022, since it was announced earlier this year that a separate festival will be returning. So I don't know, some of the boomers in the audience will remember Malta Song for Europe. We're basically getting that again. Of course, it's still not known what kind of name it will be under. So now, of course, the big prize is that 50k, that juicy 50,000 euro that I'm sure a lot of us will be salivating over right now. I can kind of, you can very easily see the rationale behind the new judging panel. I mean, it's clearly a system that has worked before. So, why break it? Have, the popular producer in Howard Keith, have the beloved pop star Ira Roscoe, then have your indie singer-songwriter, this time instead of Alex Holden, which will be the New Victorians, is Philippa Naudi. And of course you have the veteran who everyone knows, this time it will be Ivan Grek of Winter Moods.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the new season. Let's see, what it's got in store. I'm really excited to see some new talent hit the stage. And I'm also looking forward to seeing the dynamic between the 4 judges. I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna miss Alex Holden a little bit. She gave some really seriously hot takes on that stage, which I think actually is really necessary, for performers. Sometimes harsh criticism is super necessary. However, I have to say I'm super disappointed that the winner is not going to go to the next Eurovision. We've done so well so far. Michaela got to the finals, Destiny finished 7th, quite a respectable. Even though we're super disappointed, she finished at a really respectable 7th, so we're doing quite well. Now I worry that it's just going to be a life of just Thursday night viewings for semi-finals, and that's about it. On to our last story, quite a really strong warning from Malta's Animal Welfare Commissioner that kill shelters could soon become a reality if issues at Malta's overwhelmed animal homes isn't addressed because of stray animals sort of occupying all of the space. Now, for those of you who don't know, the tragic reality is a kill shelter is sort of what it says on the tin. Basically, stray cats and dogs who don't get adopted eventually have to be put down sort of to make space, for new entries. I mean, there's so many out on the streets, so many have to be cared for, and there's only so much our animal shelters can actually do. Now, Bedzina on her part said, listen, she's almost willing to immediately resign if 5 key points aren't addressed as soon as possible. I mean, the first and most important is neutering, right? I think in it she sort of mentioned, how one stray dog, for example, with her litter within 7 years could almost make up hundreds of new dogs on the streets, right? So just sort of an alarming rate of what it is. And she's calling, for sort of a state-sponsored neutering campaign of all the stray cats and dogs on Malta's islands. It will actually help curb the numbers lower. The second, was all about, the control and regulation of breeders on the island. This is still an area, but for some perverse reason is not regulated or controlled, meaning, me and you, Deej, tomorrow can become breeders and just like that, it's almost an insane practice, and it's almost creating almost a black market, not really a black market, an uncontrolled market, where sort of animals are being put into the system. The last and not least, it was all about microchipping and adopting. Microchipping is still not obliged under Maltese law, so you get a lot of people who are throwing their animals away and they're not being able to be identified and stuff like that. So she says, this actually absolutely has to be a must. So the owners, or at least the past owners, have to take full responsibility of the animals that are in their care. And most importantly, I think adoption. Bedzina rightly calls out, that many people are obsessed with getting a new breed, doing stuff like that, but there are so many dogs inside these animal shelters and cats for that reason. Sorry, I'm a dog a bit more of a dog person. But you can adopt these animals, take them home. And remember, every time you adopt one animal, you're creating a space for another to go in. There are animals on the street who need that support, who aren't getting there. So I hope this message rings hard to all of you today. Maybe adopt and start caring a bit more about Malta's animal shelters.
Yeah, I feel like there's been over the years this kind of false postcard charm about, all of Malta's stray cats and dogs, and like this whole idea of like, I'll just go out in the middle of the street, there's so many cats around, and it's cute and I get to feed them and all of that. But I think now, it's high time that we address the growing issue that might be festering even after we just feed the cats, pet the dogs and just leave. This is creating an even larger problem. We have people who are very well informed and who mean well, who are ringing, this alarm that this has to stop, something needs to be addressed. And I'm sure, no one would like to live in a country where at the back of their minds they know that dozens, hundreds of stray cats and dogs are killed just because no one can find a home for them. So here's hoping, there's a new dawn for Malta's stray cats and dogs. And on that note, that brings us to the end of today's episode of Lovin Daily. See you tomorrow, and from everyone in the newsroom, have a day full of lovin'.